The building was there in 1940.
In the Eastern Plains town of Las Animas, vacant buildings are not hard to come by.
I don't know how it got there, and I don't know what it was used for.
But if walls could talk, even the vacant ones have stories to share.
Las Animas in Benton County has tremendous history, and every bit of it is of interest to someone.
Two in particular sit unused beside the railroad tracks.
Benton County owns both of the buildings.
The original Las Animas jail and this long pink adobe building.
I really don't know what the future holds for the two buildings.
For much of their lives, they housed the Carson Museum.
There was a plaque telling what that particular room was used for.
Diane Balblitz spent many hours volunteering there.
The jail, which was a part of the museum, was used as a family home. This is a sign that it was a jail.
The museum opened in the 1950s and remained here until it moved downtown in 2009. Before it housed the museum, it housed farm workers, but not just any farm workers. World War II saw many of Las Animas' able-bodied men leave to fight in the war. The fields still needed to be worked, so the government brought German prisoners of war to Colorado to work the fields in their absence.
You're in landlocked Colorado and you've got German POWs working your popcorn fields and working your sheep.
Ashley Balerio's grandmother lived on one of those farms and remembers the prisoners.
At first they seemed really reluctant and like this was kind of beneath them and not something that they felt was a good use of their time. But having such a good harvest, a good yield for the harvest, I can imagine there was some pride.
The German POWs were not the only workers to call these barracks home. The Emergency Farm Labor Program also brought in Jamaican workers to help in the fields.
The Jamaicans were not treated specifically well. We do have a pretty low diversification in this area even still today.
Grace Gardner is a local high school student who admits she didn't know much of her local history.
I was very surprised to learn about the history of these buildings for sure, not only as a POW camp, but also as housing Jamaicans. And I did not know at all that the first legal hanging in Colorado occurred here.
That hanging took place on February 2nd, 1877. The condemned was James Miller, a Buffalo soldier from Fort Lyon who shot and killed a local cowboy in a bar after that cowboy harassed Miller on account of his race.
I've drove by this building many times and I never knew that that was something that had occurred here.
Grace is not alone. Diane says the local history is a mystery to many in town.
Probably 90% of the citizens of Las Animas are unaware.
They want to use these two buildings to change that.
The buildings can tell the stories if they're preserved and taken care of.
They want to start small, just some informational signage at first.
By providing more information on the buildings and bringing history back to life in this area, there will be a lot more enthusiasm.
Then build upon that enthusiasm, though they know it will be a struggle.
Community involvement as well as the economy are two of the biggest issues that we see.
It would take a great deal of restoration to fix either building, but the stories and the history that's represented by those two buildings is something that very definitely needs to be preserved.